Welcome to our closing session. We brought everyone back together for the presentation, the WisDOT Excellent in Highway Design Awards. Let's get started right away. We're doing something new. Dan Tyler from the Bureau of Project Development. So welcome, Dan, for the awards.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the annual Design Awards. Well, thanks everybody. This is one of my, thank you. This is one of my favorite times of the year because we get to see a showcase of the top work from around the state. We get to commend people who are proud of their work. It's my 10th year as chair of the Design Awards Committee, and my goal in writing this presentation is to introduce these 26 nominees and share some of their techniques and innovations. I'm pleased to welcome those of you who are joining us on our worldwide live webcast of the event. This is why we started exactly at 4. Thanks, Rudy from OPA, for producing the webcast. I know some of the regions set up places for folks to gather and watch together, so I hope you're doing just that, and a special welcome to those of you watching online and remotely. For everyone here, the same link will also take you to a recording of the presentation later afterwards if you'd like to follow up on something, if you'd like to give someone a call and congratulate them, give them a call, find out something more about something that you heard you were curious about from the presentation today, or even try giving a call something you disagreed with to find out more about where they were coming from. We've heard today from the administrator's office about their 3 Ps, and you'll hear more of those today. You'll find that today's award winners come from skillfully engaging people, partnerships, and processes. You'll see that it's not just the biggest or most glamorous projects that truly fulfill our mission. So would the presenters please join me on stage? Steve and Rebecca from the administrator's office. A hearty thanks to this year's judging panel from WisDOT and private firms. We have 2 new judges this year, Will Anderson from Project Development and Nicole Lisney in the rotating region position. And we've decided we'll add a second region judge for next year, so Northeast and Southeast regions. Be thinking about who you'd like to send for the 2021 awards. And finally, under promise of secrecy, the winners have been notified in advance in hopes that some of them will be present to receive the awards today. I get a list of those names, but it's not always the final list, so please, if you came all the way down here to receive the award when I call up the appropriate project, come on up and receive the award. Jane Sutter is here from OPA. Thanks, Jane, to take photos. So after you come up and get your plaque, stay up here awkwardly on the stage so Jane can take a few photos of you and Rudy can broadcast your smiling face worldwide on the internet. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off today's program, we have the category Best Rural Design by WisDOT. We have 4 projects designed in-house. This was also the first category that the judges sat down to select the winners, and we were unable to make a determination because it was a close field, so we tabled that and ended up coming to it later in our session. So let me show them to you and see if you agree. The first nominee is this new roundabout at State Trunk 33 and County Trunk P intersection in Dodge County. Thanks John Jenkins, the PM, Ryan Bailey, the project leader, and Greg Payne, the designer, for your work on this. This is an example of a substantive safety improvement addressing a high number of serious crashes with a HISA project to replace a rural all-way stop with a roundabout. The design accommodates the trucks that regularly pass through, but keeps its footprint in check with the single-lane design. Over in Kenosha County, we have this project on Pine Street, State Trunk 83. It's a 2-inch resurfacing effort, managing a pavement asset that was reconstructed in 2005, but suffered heaving in 2015, which sounds pretty uncomfortable. One uncommon element was the design team dealt with an offset crown in the paving joint. They decided to leave it offset, which made for easier construction without sacrificing safety. Thanks project leader Tyler Beinlich for putting this submittal together with PM Gary Metzer and engineer Peter Thau. Our next nominee is State Trunk 156 in Waupaca County. Zach Grueling, the project leader, elegantly summarized this project in the nomination. I'd like to read it. Quote, "An unassuming blue-collar highway representing the essence of life in rural Wisconsin. Not as flashy and well-traveled as others, this three-digit highway is no less important to our state economy, serving as the initial connection for our rural communities to larger markets in eastern and southern Wisconsin." End quote. Well, I sometimes hear claims that projects like that can't compete for awards, but Zach, your point is valid. Jobs like this make Wisconsin work. The design employed performance-based practical design by perpetuating 11-foot lanes, 3-foot paved shoulders, saving about $350,000 over widening to 12. The nomination highlights a couple things that seem small but make a difference in the end, like a construction detail for a surface drain through the beam guard, a 3D model of a sidewalk connection to avoid replacing a pole box that was just installed with another project the previous year, or grooved centerline markings in absence of centerline rumbles. And the final nominee is State Trunk 54 in Trempealeau County. From the Eau Claire office, project manager Jesse Larson and project engineer Dan Rambo. Well, come on down, guys. You are this year's winners of the Rural WisDOT category. Come on down. Well, it was clear that this project was focused on getting the job done while saving money. The overall pavement condition was very poor and was rehabilitated by milling off 3 1/4 inches and paving new asphalt. They evaluated numerous alternatives, other options including up to 9 3/4 inch pavement. 2 large culverts were slated for replacement, but they were deep, and a big open cut would have been very disruptive to the roadway. Teaming up with statewide drainage engineer Ed Lilla, they instead used trenchless replacement techniques. These culverts were lined with structurally self-sufficient pipes. They used grouted riprap to prevent future erosion. Looking at the highway geometry, you'll notice a number of vertical and horizontal curves outside the desirable standards. Many have curve warning signs and advisory speeds. The crash record showed that little other effort here besides enhanced curve warning signs were likely to be of great value. Finally, the county was a main stakeholder, and for 28 years since the last state project, they had maintained this highway. Their invaluable input led to a drainage system in a segment that needed constant maintenance due to frost heave. So congratulations, State Trunk 54 team, on this fine design effort. 54. All right, our second category is the best rural design by a consultant. And wow, this was a great category. There are 5 projects here. They really cover the gamut. One of my goals in administering these awards is constantly evaluating the criteria by which we judge projects so that different looking and different sized projects can compete as fairly as possible with each other in a category. I think this is a good example, so let's have a look. The first nominee is State Trunk 120 in Lake Geneva. Strand was the designer, with Eric Hansen, the PM, and Elizabeth Garfoot, the roadway designer, and Gary Metzer, the PM from WisDOT. The $6 million project included a signal, 2 multi-lane roundabouts, a new bridge over Como Creek, and lowering of State Trunk 120 to address substandard vertical clearance under US 12. The alignment incorporated bioretention basins while minimizing wetland impacts and coordinated work with new high-voltage lines. The next nominee is US 45 near Fond du Lac. Peggy Hawley from Omni was the project manager, along with Ryan Betker and Andy Westbrook. Brian Lurst was the PM from WisDOT. This project resurfaced this minor arterial, replaced culverts, especially some that were the cause of flooding and washouts on 45. A major component was the complete rebuilding of the County Trunk H intersection. Next, checking in at $41 million, it's a nomination from the I-39 team. This 9-mile expansion is part of a larger effort on I-39, seeking to enhance mobility with 3 lanes from Madison to Illinois. They developed a consistent 84-foot median to eliminate cable guard and avoided costs by using a design speed of 70 instead of 75, matching the posted speed of 70. Thanks to the Dane Partners team, including Jeff Hansen, Mike McCarthy, Greg Wyant, and Dean Stodola. The US 63 project near Hayward is our next nominee, and rather than expanding, they're doing more with that existing footprint. The AIRS project team, including Mark Peterson and Jeff Abramson, with WisDOT PM Matthew Dickinson, deployed a couple of less common but proven techniques to improve this highway. The pavement was rehabbed with cold-in-place recycling, including shoulders, which reduce the cost of material hauling and should reduce ongoing reflective cracking. With crash rates below average, the main line didn't include geometric changes. Within the towns of Sealy and Cable, the 4-lane undivided highway was reconfigured to 3 lanes with a center left turn lane for safer turns. And finally, we have the intersection of US 8 and State Trunk 47, which is now the very first roundabout in Rhinelander. Ladies and gentlemen, from AIRS, come on down, Andy Dana and Kevin Kulo with Dan Irva and Fred McHugh from WisDOT. You are this year's winners. If you had been through this intersection, you'd know that it had problems. Not only was the pavement falling apart, but this key Northwoods connection point was plagued with validated substantive safety problems. You can see in this image that the design had to fit between the river bridge, a railroad bridge, and a snowmobile trail. To make matters worse, the project staff had to deal with a constant stream of armchair quarterbacks from the nearby DOT office. The pavement problem had a lot to do with the high water table and artesian springs. The design included intercepting rock trenches and rock weeps and raised the entire footprint to keep it high and dry, a decision based on context more so than standards. The roundabout option actually required 50% less pavement than its signal alternative, largely because it only needed a single lane. It does include 2 slip ramps which mimic existing ramps in those positions and resolve 4-lane sections leading into the intersection. The construction staging was well developed with a combination of partial movements and partial detours. We could tell from the submittal that the project team took pride in its work and put a good deal of thought into every design decision. Congratulations on this fine project. We made a few tweaks in the structures categories this year with more focus on the structure itself rather than on the overall project. We have 2 fine nominees for the in-house category, and the judges agreed this was another close one. I'll share them with you, see what you think. The first is the Point Bluff Bridge replacement carrying State Trunk 82 over the Wisconsin River in Juneau County. It was designed to require less maintenance than its predecessor, a 9-span steel truss bridge you can see in the background of the picture. But the team considered steel girders, which could have reduced the number of spans and piers, but selected pre-stressed concrete for its initial lower initial and life cycle costs. They also considered shallow and drilled shaft foundations before selecting deep foundations. One element that looked small to me was the skew of the piers. This is why we have structural experts on the judging panel. Instead of aligning the piers with the river's flow, they designed the piers orthogonal to the deck, which simplified construction and saved on materials. But to demonstrate that this would in fact work, the team completed detailed 2D scour modeling, the first of its kind in fact, to show how the water would flow around those piers, notably the effects of scour. Thank you, Dominique Beckley, Nick Rice, Matt Alley, and Joel Hunink from the Bureau of Structures for your work on this project. The other nominee is the State Trunk 116 Bridge project, a vital connection over the Wolf River in Winneconne. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in congratulating the designers of this year's Best Structure by WisDOT, Tim Borowski, Alex Crabtree, Matt Alley, Bill Bertrand from WisDOT PM, Mike Malcolm from Omni. Come on down. This is a truly multimodal project, analyzing 11 different build alternatives. They looked at what size boats needed to pass under to determine clearance, They considered the users who needed to cross, from cars and trucks to people on foot or bicycle and snowmobile. This bridge includes a 10-foot sidewalk on one side. They also utilized the old bascule bridge during construction to avoid a prohibitive 20-mile detour for all those users. What makes this project so unique is its deep integration of the old bascule bridge and its functions. Not only did it remain in part in use during construction, but portions of it remain to this day. This is an important area for fishing, and as a matter of fact, the old bridge was the only state highway bridge legally allowing on-bridge fishing. Fishing is next to impossible on the new high bridge, so new fishing platforms were installed near the water. These are actually not trivial to design. The team used SAP 2000 to model pedestrian load combinations, and WisDOT standard design software couldn't do. Finally, rather than expensive removals, the old abutments remain and new abutments behind the old and seawalls in front for a low-maintenance, stable shore. Although the State Historical Society didn't consider the old bridge historic, the local Historical Society felt strongly about preserving its history, so the design team worked with them to salvage a number of items for an exhibit, including control arms, lights, the plaque, and more. Well done, team, on your fine work in this setting not seen anywhere else in Wisconsin. Congratulations. Four projects were nominated for this year's Best Structure designed by a consultant, and they were a diverse field from around the state. From up in Brokaw, we have the 4-span, 580-foot County Trunk WW Bridge. The EMCS team, including Stephanie Christensen, Scott Kaiser, and Michael Radke, designed an economical deck replacement. Performance-based practical design here featured retaining the good condition substructure and thus maintaining the existing 33-foot deck width with 11-foot lanes. This saved $6 to $8 million and kept the work to one season, even while keeping it open to traffic. New standard 42-inch parapets were built, but some approach beam guard in good condition was evaluated and left in place. The next nominee comes from the Northwest region. It's not often that a structure is shortened as part of a replacement, but that's exactly what happened here with the new bridge over Plum Creek in Pierce County. To clarify, that is the temporary bridge in the picture. After studying the hydraulics, the AIRS team determined that only one span was necessary, down from an existing 5. The structure is curved and it's adequately sized for both the creek and a snowmobile trail underneath. Thank you, Jeff Abramson and Chris McMahon from AIRS and Matt Pfeiffer from WisDOT for this nomination. We were encouraged to see this next nominee come in from the team at the City of Milwaukee, Jonathan Thomas and Gerald Kruski with Christine Hanna from WisDOT. Located in a historic downtown district, the Wells Street Vertical Lift Bridge rehabilitation improved functionality and extended the service life of this structure. The new bridge updated obsolete hydraulic and mechanical systems and added bike-friendly riding surfaces and was designed for the safe passage of vehicular and marine traffic. Rounding out this diverse field is a project unlike any of the others. The nomination describes how it demonstrates the benefits of a collaborative design approach. Well, come on up and receive the plaque together, the US 12 Yahara Bridge team. Bill Schilling, Mike Delamone from AECOM, David Layton and Brenda Shanefield from WisDOT. Come on up. The US 12 Beltline bridges are twin 33-span bridges carrying a freeway over a marsh with 12 spans over the river. It was built in 1988, and the piers sit on 14-inch diameter oil well pipe piles. 803 of them, as a matter of fact. This project came about as they began to deteriorate. A rehabilitation like this one had never been undertaken in Wisconsin. The team drew on AECOM's worldwide network of resources and invited manufacturers to provide sample materials. 7 different materials were installed on one of the easier-to-access piers. The process culminated with a design charrette to review, evaluate, and decide on the final products. Allowing multiple products kept the pricing competitive, and the Denso Sea Shield 2000 HD that was installed ended up well below the engineer's estimate, an estimate that was developed without any past costs from which to draw. The actual work consisted of installation and inspection in a difficult and sensitive area. If you're from Madison, you might have never even noticed the project under the bridge, but you'll be glad to know that the piles are strong thanks to this team's effort. Congratulations. In this year's Best Urban Design by WisDOT category, 3 projects were nominated. The first comes from a program not unfamiliar with the design awards, the Zoo Interchange. The project came out of a unique agreement with DNR to locate a concrete batch plant on DNR property for use on the Zoo Interchange project. The site is intended to become a new forest exploration center. The roundabout is intended to be a gateway treatment into the city of Wauwatosa, helping manage speeds and create facilities for non-motorized users. Thank you, Chris Hager, Lance Parv, and Amanda Johnson for your leadership on this project. The next nominee is in Appleton. It's the interchange of Oneida Street with 441. Also part of a larger corridor, the WisDOT team led by Scott Ebel, Garrick Vickman, and Chad DeGrave brought this design from preliminary plan to completion. The diverging diamond required substantial coordination from neighboring businesses to pavement joint details. Their QC effort included bringing on HDR for a peer review and developing a full 3D rendering. The staging called for a full roadway closure, but was able to maintain pedestrian access through construction in this heavily walked route. And the final nominee in this year's Best Urban Design by WisDOT is the US 51 reconstruction in Woodruff, and it's this year's winner. Let's hear it for Fred McHugh, Mitch Lavin, Jerry Beyer from the Rhinelander office. Come on down. Jed and Fred. This is a 1.6 mile, $9 million reconstruction project up in Woodruff, a major tourist destination. It was driven by distressed pavement and drainage systems, plus safety and operational concerns at 2 intersections and a 4-lane undivided segment. Crash rates for left turns were nearly twice the statewide average, and the design incorporates a new 2-way left turn lane. In spite of all the tourists who go to the area to be outside, sidewalks were spotty at best, and the project improved them. There's now continuous sidewalk from downtown to the elementary school. Traffic control and staging were developed in design to avoid the busiest tourist season between the 4th of July and Labor Day, which of course is also the best time to do construction work. Drainage in this lake district was also a major factor, and the team did extensive coordination with neighbors including the Lakeland Sanitary District and the DNR. An example was allowing 2 creek crossings to be bypass pumped rather than diverted, saving time and impacts. I've worked with Fred here on a number of projects. I have to commend him for having a great attitude, especially about local stakeholders. A lot of designers are quick to say the locals like it's some kind of a bad word or they're a curse to a project. I consider Fred an example of those people and partnerships that we're talking about. He sits down with people, he hears them out, he recognizes that it's their community and they have values and needs just like we do. So hopefully as a result, this new highway will be a benefit to all these users over the coming years. Congratulations. The next category is Best Urban Design by a Consultant, and true to tradition, this field is packed again. The first nominee came from the city of Milwaukee, their reconstruction of Wisconsin Avenue, a principal arterial into the heart of downtown. I know from experience that the city of Milwaukee takes multimodal transportation seriously, and here they really thought hard about their cross-section with medians, green space, historic properties of various modes, all competing for space. You'll find reconstructed sidewalks and curb ramps here, but not bike lanes because of the bus rapid transit potential on the corridor. plus signed and marked parallel routes, 1 block north and 1 block south. This is actually what we had heard about the BRT project over lunch today. Thank you, David Tapia, Todd Becker, and team for this nomination from Southeast Region. The Northwest Region nominated State Trunk 27. Summer tourist season was the name of the game in this pavement replacement project that AIRS submitted in Hayward. Jeff Abramson, Mark Hedrington, and Chris McMahon were in the lead from AIRS with Matt Dickinson, the WisDOT project manager. This $4 million project included 2 ice reports and an analysis for a new twiddle. In one part, a 4-lane was converted to a 3-lane. In another part, 4-lane to 5-lane. Partial repairs were done on select areas in lieu of full reconstruction. At these all of these point to a practical design approach, designing the right project for the right location. We had a really nice nomination from Mike Malcolm, Peggy Hawley, and Ryan Betker for their Omni nominee for their State Trunk 55 interchange in Kaukauna. One of the things that made the nomination stand out is that the designers had a reason for every element they described. They tackled growing delays and safety concerns with 2 roundabouts and adjacent roadway work. One part of the design that was molded to fit its context was this 3-lane section, making best use of the limited width under the I-41 bridges. 4-foot sidewalks were replaced with 5-foot, and a multi-use trail was carried along the highway under 41. One uncommon feature here was the use of a utility relocation monitoring contract with part-time oversight of the relocations to assure new facilities were clear of construction. Another ongoing project that we feature again this year is the Verona Road project. This phase constructed collector-distributor ramps, expanded the main line from 4 to 6 lanes, and grade-separated Williamsburg Way with a tight urban diamond interchange, or TUDI. The complex construction staging was a notable challenge on the project. Mark Vesperman is the project manager from WisDOT, and the Strand team includes Joe Bunker, Aaron Stager, Jared Engelke, and Josh Pachniak. I'll add my personal thanks to Joe Bunker. Joe, where'd you go? From Strand for being on this year's judging panel. And for the record, Joe abstained from evaluating any project in the criteria to avoid bias, and I appreciate that. Joe is the one in this picture right behind the governor of Wisconsin. Finally, we come to the 5th nominee in the category, the short yet complex urban reconstruction of State Trunk 23 through Montello. Ladies and gentlemen, you'd please join me in congratulating from Quest, Jim Wendells, Adam Ozipowski, and Tim Shaner, and from WisDOT, Dan Holloway and Jason Schaefer. This highway is on the NHS. It's a long truck route. It's a mix of rural, residential, and small downtown. The team added continuous sidewalk and replaced several stairs with accessible curb ramps. In the downtown, where it was more difficult to resolve slopes, several curb bump outs were used, which also improve sight distance and shorten crossing distance, but don't take up any parking space. Incidentally, one of those proven safety countermeasures you heard about from FHWA this morning. A good deal of effort went into managing stormwater in this area between 2 lakes. A new retention basin and biofiltration swale will help clean the water. Of note, the project used unique special provisions to avoid impacts to the state's largest cottonwood tree. One of the areas of focus was a 90-degree turn on the highway in the downtown area with truck overtracking problems. The project demolished a building to create a curve, but applied a 15-mile-an-hour design speed to keep the footprint from getting wider than it needed to be, and to keep speeds in check through the downtown where people are walking around. Overall, this $3.6 million project considered numerous alternatives to its many components, engaged a range of stakeholders, and met its goals of improving safety, moving traffic in several modes, and improving stormwater quality, all while minimizing right-of-way acquisition. The State Trunk 23 team, congratulations, guys. Well, the final category is for Best Design in the Local Program. We have 3 nominees. I'm really glad we've added this category because these projects really speak to DTSD's 3 pillars of excellence: the partnerships, people, and process. And sometimes it could be that I feel like maybe we have a bias against locals because we're so accustomed to working on the big roads. But these are all cases. Have a look at how these projects were able to find an answer to a way to answer yes. First, the city of Green Bay wanted to make a statement with this reconstruction of a decrepit North Webster Avenue and create a gateway from I-43 to downtown. The project removed 24 houses while widening a 4-lane undivided roadway to a boulevard with 21-foot inverted medians for stormwater management. With the houses gone, so went their driveways, and a new multi-use path runs along that side of the road. Thanks to Troy Robillard and Phil Verville from Ayers for sending in this nomination. The next nominee comes from Milwaukee, where West Greenfield Avenue was reconstructed to provide an attractive multimodal facility that will safely serve its citizens for generations to come. This is a great example of just how difficult it is to do work in a constrained urban environment. The existing section was 52 feet wide, and by performance-based practical design, that was tightened to 48 feet, still including lanes, bike lanes, and parking. Horizontal alignment and vertical alignment were both improved, but not always to minimum standards, avoiding impacts where there were not safety concerns. John Elkin, Andrew Axt, and their team at R.A. Smith created a design that truly focused on its context and the community in which it resides, from new tree plantings and enhanced crosswalk markings to multi-language meeting invitations. The judges spent a great deal of time deliberating over this nomination, and the next one on Grand Avenue in Wisconsin Rapids. We were tied for a long time. Both of these projects really tried to get more with less in their tight urban settings. In the end, however, we're pleased to announce that this year's winner of the local program category is Grand Avenue. Come on down, Eric Hansen and Rob Jack from Strand, Mike Rage from WisDOT. It's just you. All right. In the end, the judges concluded that while West Greenfield Avenue was indeed a much-needed update, Grand Avenue is really a transformation. After almost 70 years of service, the existing infrastructure was at the end of its life and now is ready to serve a new generation. This was another project that had looked hard at its needs and deployed performance-based practical design to provide what the community really needs. They eliminated the second eastbound travel lane, which was not required for satisfactory traffic operation, and instead incorporated a bike lane and a widened terrace within the existing right-of-way. At the Jackson Street intersection, after looking at a number of control options, a signal was removed because a 4-way stop met the project's needs more cost-effectively. Options for parking were reviewed, settling on parking on one side in portions of some blocks. Overall, the pavement area was reduced by 15,000 square feet, which will reduce maintenance, plowing, and salting in perpetuity. 30% of access points on the corridor were removed after coordination with property owners to maintain internal circulation. The design team delivered a detailed construction staging plan with closures, one-directional closures, pedestrian access plans, including color maps to help orient people near the work zone. The nomination highlights how Strand delivered the right project for this gateway to Wisconsin Rapids, and in spite of all that work, it was the least expensive project in the category at $2.3 million. Here's an example of how fitting the context can also save us money. So, congratulations. And well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. 7 awards, 26 projects, each with their story to tell and their lessons to teach. We're coming to the end of another annual conference here. I'm sure you're all eager to get home. We're playing a vital role every day, frankly, in people all around the state getting home. Are you asking, how can I help? Thanks to everyone who tuned in online and for everyone's attention here in the room. Thanks again to the judges and everyone who took time to nominate their project, to step back even for a moment and reflect on the work we have accomplished. Or to take a minute and say thank you and good work to your partners in the office or in a different one. To even engage in the difficult task of respectfully talking with people about topics on which you do not agree, with the goal of truly seeing each other as people, seeing the strength that comes from partnerships, and truly serving our diverse public. There are many successes all around us, large and small, so I encourage each one of you to keep your eyes open and keep your heads up. And until next time, my friends, happy spring. Keep up the good work. Thank you.